Sir, currently I'm undergoing training and I'm undergoing the revenue module. So I am the SDM headquarter under training in South Delhi district.
You are in Delhi.
Yes, it's South Delhi district.
So have you been to Ahmedabad ever?
Sir, no, sir, not yet. Sir.
But have you some idea about Ahmedabad?
Yes, sir, I have some idea about Andhra.
What basically, if you were to say that, please tell me, I want to meet some of the old, the tribals who lived in India. Which is the place where you would say where the tribal are still living as they were, say, 1,000 years ago?
Sir, though changes in the way of life of tribals has happened and their integration with the mainstream society has happened, but there are certain tribes and there are certain places in Andaman and Nicobar Islands where still some of the tribes are found with their way of life. Sir, there is Car Nicobar Islands and sir, there is Campbell Bay in Car Nicobar. So there, sir, we have certain Sentinelese and Onges who are still living the way of life they used to live earlier. However, sir, the other tribes such as Nicobaris, Jarwas, they have to some extent integrated with the mainstream society. So, sir, Car Nicobar would be the place where I would recommend the people to go and visit, and Campbell Bay so as to see the way of life of tribals that used to exist, though it has changed now.
So, apart from the tribals which were staying there
Sir,
at some point, times, ancient times, well, who others were sent from the mainland, and what periods of time, what type of people they were, these people who went from the mainland?
sir, sir, historically, if we look at people who've gone to the islands, sir, there were initially traders. Sir, if we look from the first, from say ancient and medieval periods, sir, it were the traders, and because sir, it was a part of firstly the Cholas and other kingdoms. So inhabitants from southern India were also there. Sir, during the British period, sir, there were certain freedom fighters also who were sent to the islands in the cellular jail. And sir, during the British period,
Cellular jail was coming, was there earlier, before the British came.
so during the British colonial period, sir, the freedom fighters were sent to the cellular jail. Sir, after the during the British colonial period and since independence also, sir, we have certain traders who settled there. So certain people from West Bengal and certain people from Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Andhra, they've settled there. And sir, primarily the West people from West Bengal, they are living there and now they are trading there and they've settled occupation over there, sir. So this is how people have come there, sir, apart from the tribals.
Okay, now that's the thing, but from the viewpoint of security of the country, defense, how have we utilized those resources?
Sir, we have the Tri Services Command in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And sir, because it is near to the choke points, Malaccan Strait, and also, sir, it has strategic importance because of closer to Bay of Bengal and because of closer to Indo-Pacific. So, sir, Tri Services Command is there. Sir, we have naval commands also over there. And sir, apart from Indian Navy, we have Indian Coast Guard also who are patrolling and ensuring that no.
You use the word tri-service command.
Yes, sir.
What is the meaning of tri-service command?
Sir, it is a command which has integration of the three armed forces, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, with the directions and with the capabilities to launch any combat operation or other operations if there is any such need on the security, unity, and integrity of the country or any disruption with respect to the choke points or any other activities with respect
So
to.
how does that tri-service command differ from other commands?
Sir, it is an integrated command. And sir, firstly, it is an integrated command. Secondly, sir, the capability to take decisions is quicker compared to other commands, sir. Other commands are trifurcated, and sir, there may be limited coordination between the three armed forces. Here, sir, there is more coordination and decisions can be taken faster in times of distress or in times of emergency.
So is this the only tribe service command in India?
Sir, this is as far as my limited knowledge is concerned, sir. This is the only tri-service command, but I'll.
I go from one set of islands to the other side. Which in India, which is the other set of islands?
Sir, Lakshadweep Islands are the other.
What is the difference between the two?
Sir, firstly, there is a difference with respect to the origin or the composition of the island, sir. Lakshadweep Islands is built on corals. There is a coral reef, and there was a submerged volcano that was there. Whereas, sir, Andaman and Nicobar, they are a continuation of the Arakan Yoma range of mountains. Secondly, sir, Andaman and Nicobar Islands economically has a higher gross domestic product. It is around 9.23 lakh crore, whereas that for Lakshadweep is limited, sir. Though we do not have the statistics as of now. Thirdly, sir, the population in Andaman and Nicobar is around 3.42 lakhs, whereas in Lakshadweep, sir, the population is limited to around 64,000 people. Sir, fourthly, the area is also different. Lakshadweep has an area of 32 square kilometer. Andaman Nicobar has an area of around 3,249 square kilometer. And lastly, sir, only 10 islands in Lakshadweep are habited out of the
What about the composition of the
Yes, sir.
specific thing which you would like to mention about Lakshadweep?
Sir, there are mostly tribals over there, sir. Scheduled tribes are around 100% of the population. We have, sir, Amindis, Kolas, Melacharis as the tribals over there. And so the immigrants or other individuals from the mainstream society are very limited. Whereas, sir, in Andaman and Nicobar, there are only around 28,000 tribals. So it is around 9% of the total population.
Abhinav, one of your interests is completed commercial due diligence training. What is this due diligence training? Commercial due diligence, what is it?
Sir, this is a training which I undertook during my study at IIM Calcutta. And sir, this requires a set of activities and set of processes to understand the commercial feasibility for undertaking investment in any private entity. So, sir, one would look at the growth of the industry, the growth of the company, how other externalities such as social or political factors would come in. Then if someone invests now after 5 years, how would their investment look? Would they be able to get 2 times the value, 3 times the value? So sir, one looks at these factors before taking a decision. So this is due diligence with respect to commercial point of view.
Commercial, okay. So, what is the difference between? Are they similar or they different? And if different, to what extent? How are they different? Management and administration.
So they are interrelated. There are points of differences, points of similarities. So points of differences are there. Management refers to set of activities which are undertaken to achieve certain goal or a certain goal target which is set by the management. Whereas sir, administration involves formulating policies, also formulating the goals. Apart from ensuring that the goals are managed, the team is managed and the goals are reached. So, sir, administration has a added aspect with respect to framing the policies and looking at the larger vision and mission. And it is the management, sir, which enables the organization.
So, management is a subset of administration. Would you put it that way?
Sir, not a complete subset. There are overlaps, sir, and there are differences. May not be a subset also, sir.
What are the differences?
Sir, the one difference was this only goals and policies.
Others? Any other?
Sir, the organizational structure would differ in both of them. Management may have a different organizational structure. Administration may have a different organizational structure.
Achha, achha, okay. What is strategy? You were associated with some strategy also. What is strategy?
Sir, strategy refers to set of guidelines and set of policies which are decided by an organization or an entity
Yeah.
to achieve uh, the intended outcome. With respect to business, sir, it can be enhancing the profits with respect, sir.
Yes, okay, okay. So strategy is a part of policy, or is it different from strategy? How would you correlate or de-link, whatever it is, whatever you feel like, strategy with policy and policy with strategy?
Sir, each policy has a strategy to achieve the goal of that.
So strategy is a part of policy. Is it that?
Or, sir, this is one aspect. The other aspect I would like to tell you
Yeah.
that a strategy can have different policies also.
Strategy can have different policies.
Policies,
Illustration.
sir, for instance, Indian strategy to become a 5 trillion economy by 2024, by fiscal year 2024.
Is it a strategy or is it a targeted? It's a target.
It's an object, yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir, it is an objective also, and I believe that, sir, it is a.
No, it is it if it is an is it an objective or a strategy? Strategy is means of achieving the objective.
Yes, sir.
So you said that the Indian policy, the policy strategy is that to be achieve 5 trillion economy status.
Yes,
So
sir.
you will regard it as a strategy.
Sir, it is a objective, sir. Thank you, sir. Correct.
So
And
go
yes,
ahead.
sir, it is an objective, and the steps we would take in various sectors, they would be the strategy we would use would be with respect to various sectors as to how to achieve this 5 trillion economy.
Strategy is basically a modus
Yes, sir.
to
Achieve
proceed
the-
towards either a policy, form policy or targeted. I'll give you a sentence. I would like to have your take on that. How would you? History repeats itself. Do you agree or disagree? And either way, give illustrations.
Sir, I agree also, and I disagree also.
You agree and disagree both.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting. Go ahead.
Sir, sir, history would repeat itself if lessons from history are not taken, and one does not ensure that there are necessary structural and functional safeguards to ensure that whatever externality or whatever internal factors which led to certain events in the past, the same externalities or same internal factors do not lead to the same outcomes in the future. And sir, if one does not undertake uh, such arrangements, structural, functional arrangements or safeguards, and one does not undertake lessons from the past, then sir, history would repeat itself.
Can you give an example of either of these two instances? The last one. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the last one is why history would not repeat itself if we take.
One illustration this side, one illustration that side.
Sir, in 1991, we had the forex crisis, we had an economic crisis, and sir, we learned from them. And sir, since now it's been around 32 years, sir. We've ensured that we do not have any such economic crisis, forex crisis till now, and sir, our economy is also doing well. This is one example, sir, where history is not repeated. And sir, the example where history has repeated is the example of Sri Lanka, sir. So Sri Lanka has been repeatedly going through economic crisis, sir. So the crisis started from 2010-11. Then sir, 2014 also they reached to IMF for a bailout. They were given a bailout, but they had limited arrangements with respect to economy. Now also, sir, after COVID and after certain policy decisions of the government to go for organic farming, reduce tourism, that has again led to their economic crisis now. So sir, history in the case of Sri Lanka is repeating. That is another example.
Yes, good. Okay.
Your main subject is sociology.
Sorry.
What made you decide that sociology? You are a student. What's your favorite?
Sir, I did my graduation in electronics and communications and my post graduation in management, sir.
Okay, so two different areas, but you chose sociology.
Yes, sir.
What was in your mind when you decided?
So, firstly, during my during my management study, that there were certain courses we had during our first year, which pertain to sociology, and so that introduced me to the subject. Secondly, sir, when I was making a decision with respect to choosing the optional subject, so there was enough guidance which was available on sociology compared to management. Electronics and communications is not an option, sir. So between management and sociology, there was enough guidance which was available. So I chose sociology, and sir, I have to some extent interest also in sociology, which finally made me zero on for this optional subject.
Okay. You must have also scored well in the subject.
No, sir, I couldn't score that one. That is why I landed up at Danik, sir. Had I scored, I would have got a better
Still,
score.
you made it through. This.
What was your score of interview last year?
Sir, Sociology?
No, interview.
190.
And in sociology? Out of 500.
42.
So this brought down you.
That has not made you revise your decision. You still
Yes, sir. Mine still.
okay. So you have heard something called caste census.
Yes, sir.
Are you in favor of that, or you think it is not desirable? If so, then why?
So caste census is desirable while the nation and the administrative and policy mechanism should have an accurate view of the different castes in the Indian social structure, their composition with respect to share in employment, their per capita incomes, and other parameters, so that one can have an objective view of the actions of positive affirmation and how is social mobility taking place if it is taking place. And also, sir, secondly, it would enable the government to have a very clear idea of are there sufficient capabilities of social capital or human capital developed for castes which have faced historical discrimination. However, sir, there are certain safeguards that we can take after the caste census is conducted. First is that, sir, the data may not be made public as long as there is no consensus on that. If there is consensus between the different stakeholders, then the data with respect to caste census can be made public. Secondly, sir, there are certain problems, procedural problems with respect to conducting the caste census. Certain castes may have some status in one state. For instance, they may be in the other backward class in one state, or they may be in the general caste in another state. So these procedural issues should be taken care of. And if these safeguards are there, then we can go ahead with the caste census.
You said that the data should be kept confidential.
Yes, sir.
And how do you think if it is kept confidential, the government will ensure transparency in implementing its policies towards those people you're talking about who need better protection, affirmative action? How can it be justified? I mean, you are not publicizing the data, then I will be asking questions as to why this particular community is getting more than what I am getting. So how do you reconcile this with it? And secondly, it's the entire thing is being registered by the government itself. It is not in favor of. So why? Because more than the administrative requirements for good governance or whatever, it is the political expediency which is either stopping it or is demanding this. So how do you see this?
Sir, on the first question, sir, as to how we would be trusting the government. Sir, in a constitutional setup, uh, we as citizens should have that much of trust in the democratically elected government and the constitutional offices that are there, that the government would be taking objective decisions on the objective data that they get out of caste census. And so the government has historically done that also. So citizens, we as citizens would need to have some kind of trust on the government with respect to the policy. Answering the second question, sir, yes, sir, there are certain issues with respect to lack of political consensus, which may be stopping the government. That is why, sir, we need to have certain political consensus so that once the data comes out, there are not much so that there are not much demands and not much furor is created with respect to revisiting reservation or revisiting the
What is your take on reservation?
so reservation is an affirmative action. It should continue as long as we have the appropriate human capital developed and as long as the historical injustices for the socio-economically disadvantaged classes is taken care of.
You think we have done a pretty good job as far as affirmative action is concerned, and we have really elevated those people from the from zero to an extent which we can claim that it is very satisfactory. Or there are issues
which we have to for which we have to revisit the entire policy of reservation.
So we've had limited success with respect to reservations, sir. Though to some extent we've been able to develop the capabilities of those socioeconomically disadvantaged classes with respect to health, education, employment, and income. But sir, largely the issues still remain. Sir, UNDP found out that 1 out of every 2 scheduled tribes in India is poor, and 1 out of every 3 scheduled caste citizen in India is poor. So, sir, that highlights the extent of poverty and the extent of the limited extent of success that we've had with reservation. So, we need to ensure that.
These are, the observations of external agencies and maybe some internal, agencies are also giving such data. But the fact of the matter is that, as you said, it has failed or we have not done, well in this on this front. So, as a young bureaucrat, do you have any other alternative to this so-called affirmative action? Because the policy, it's a policy, reservation is a policy, it can be done away with. And initially, it was for a limited period of time. So there is no such a thing called sacrosanct, policy. It can be. So, do you think a failed policy should continue? Or you have, as a bureaucrat, if you are asked to give a suggestion, what could be an alternative model to bring about social justice?
Sir, I would beg to differ here. We should not call it a failed policy, sir. We may call it a policy with limited success. And sir, yes, there is need to have certain safeguard and certain additional directives to be built in this policy to enable its better functioning. Firstly, sir, we can ensure that there is more awareness that is spread to the deserving sections, to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, and the EWS also, so that people are able to avail this reservation, and people are able to avail this reservation with respect to education as well as employment. So, sir, firstly, awareness needs to be built.
Well, what about the second generation of beneficiaries? Should they be continued with this amount action?
Sir, still, we as a society put some social discrimination on those second generation of people who, though may have been able to do well economically, but still there is some social taboo which is seen by restricting. Sir, even there was an IAS officer in Himachal Pradesh. Her entry was restricted to a temple just because she came from scheduled caste. So we still continue to face such social discrimination. That is why, sir, it should continue.
That actually, this is what I am trying to
Sure.
ask. That does this policy take care of the problem that has its roots in the social fabric? I mean, 75 years, we have not been able to do that. It's merely given laws and, reservation in education was a tuition. We think it has not, delivered the desired objectives, fulfilled the desired objectives. So you still think that job reservation will be the game changer or catalyst to do away with the social discrimination at the grassroots level? What is your take?
Sir, there are two aspects here that we should look. First is that, sir, earlier there was a great degree of congruence between caste, class, and power. People in the higher caste, they had higher class and they had control of power. Now, sir, due to affirmative action, this congruence, affirmative action and other opportunities, this congruence is breaking. So people who are not situated higher in caste, they may become higher in class and power. The second aspect is that, sir, yes, apart from reservation, sir, we can have affirmative action. Apart from reservation in education employment, there can be affirmative action so that the health outcomes of people from disadvantaged sections, health outcome, their skilling, and other things are taken care of. So, sir, this additionally can be done to ensure that the disadvantage that they were facing is taken care of.
Okay. So, what as a district collector,
Sir,
you will do to bring peace and sanity in a situation like a riot kind of situation, post riot? You are required to, maintain law and order, and at the same time bring the communities involved to a common platform. How will you go about it?
Sir, I'll take short-term measures and long-term measures. In the short-term measures, sir, I will use appropriate legal provisions available in the CRPC. For instance, application of Section 144, Section 144 if four or more people are posing nuisance, Section 145 if there is some land or other dispute, Section 133, sir, there is some if there is some obstruction to public passage or some other things are happening. So I'll use these sections, sir. Secondly, sir, also apart from using these preventive sections, I will try to have a dialogue and a consultation with the stakeholders, with the people who are writing, so that their grievance is taken care of. Thirdly, sir, if the issue is still not resolved, then sir, I would be using force, using both the state police force as well as the central armed forces or the army if the need is that, sir. Sir, with respect to the long-term measures, sir, firstly, I would ensure that there are, if any community, any section of society has any grievances with respect to any policy, any step of the government, or with respect to any uh, social objectives such as health, education, job, employment, etc., those their grievances are heard and their grievances are uh, appropriately sent to the concerned uh, ministry or to the concerned department, and action is taken on that. Secondly, sir, I would ensure that there are constant uh, people from different sections of the society who are made role models, sir, and the public policy or the schemes of the government is effectively communicated to those sections through these role models or brand ambassadors who are a part of their community also, so that behavioral change takes place, sir. And thirdly, sir, if there is any grievance certain individuals have, I'll ensure that there is Jan Sunwai and the grievances are frequently heard of, frequently taken care of and addressed.